texting. You can't format it, you can't put smileys in it or anything like that. And it's just somewhere that a student might want to type in a few thoughts. I don't think there's a big benefit to having it in the objective test, because the other thing that the student will have, that good old stuff, doesn't rely on electricity, is this white erasable booklet. And this is 10 pages of just things that we'll have in the exam rooms, white clean pens, you know, so marker pens, but the wipeable ones. So if a student wants to do some kind of bullet pointing or planning or rough workings or anything like that, they can do it on this sheet and then, you know, wipe it clean afterwards. Just go like that. That's what our ties are for. To wipe that clean, I did make sure that was clean beforehand. So that they can make their work. There's 10 pages in there, and on the working that I've done through the exams, I think that's more than enough. And each question, you know, I think the most I've done on a question has taken one side of that. So it's not a hindrance, I think. Okay. This stuff is about the case studies and the maths table that we'll see in a second. So keep my fingers crossed, yes. I've gone through into the F1 exam here, just to show you what's happened. Now, I've made a bit of a head start, because there's a couple of features that I want to show. And if I started at number 1, we might find ourselves taking a full hour to get through, and I don't need to do that. But I would click onto the exam. There's a front screen that says you're about to do F1. You click next, it's down here, and then there's a little bit of a copyright disclaimer, and it says, right, begin, click here, and then it says begin the exam. And when you begin the exam, question number 1 comes up, and that shows, well, 89:59. So it's a countdown clock for an hour and a half. It will say you're on question 1 out of 60, and large, you know, it could be any question. When it comes to live exams, the questions, you know, it's not like a preset question 1, 2, 3, 4. Each time you come back to look at this exam, the questions are going to be in the same running order. This one will always be question number 48. Yeah? And the reason for that is that we've got the answers on a PDF. So if we had the shuffle function, we'd confuse people with the answers, right? So you get a question. Let's just pretend this is question number 1. And something that students will have to develop, and they may already do it with their certificate level questions, but I would look at a question like this and think, I need to get my working pad out because there's numbers and it's asked for a numerical answer. And that might take me 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes. Now, I'll say one thing, that it's a difficult concept here to try and explain, but I've just said the word. This question is not more difficult or easier than any other question. The questions are equally difficult. It all depends on what you've learned, what you're familiar with, and what you've practiced. But I know this will take longer for me to demonstrate my knowledge. So, and because there's workings, I might not want to do this one straight away. So you don't have to submit an answer. I can say that's going to take a while, and as we're doing, I'd look at that and just straight away press the button down here that says next. And I go on to the next question. And it will go on to the next question. I did click. It's going to tell me that it's in a half. Oh no, there we are. There's the next question. Question number 49. And again, that one looks quite complex. There's a lot of things. I mean, I'll go through and just demonstrate this one, just in case things take a while clicking through again. But if this is one I think, oh, I spotted straight away, I can answer it. Now, this is one of our drag and drop questions. where there are 9 possible numbers here. There are 5 boxes to complete. And if I spot what I think the correct number is for the correct box, I just click on it and drag it over. There's 2 types of drag from box. I'll show you another one later. This one leaves the figure in, that I could reuse it over and over again. If I want to try my luck and think that the answer's 120,000 all the way through, I can do that. Or I can say, look, I made a mistake, and I can overwrite them, or I can put them back in the box, so I can play around with it that way around. Yeah? Oh, 120, no, that actually should be 12,000. That's the 120. Yeah? Something like that. That's the 12,000. Depreciation should be the same figure, I imagine. And therefore the deferred income is. Yeah? So we can do that. All right? One of the features that I've got is a flag. And this is one that we'll develop advice and so on for students. What I would use the flag for is a question that I've answered, but I know I want to double check if I have time to do so at the end. Yeah? Because the previous one, which I put no answer for, the system will tell me that I've not answered it. Right? It will put up a warning. So I want to click through. Right, here's something that's a quick to answer question. You know it or you don't. Yeah, so you'd read it, which of the following is not an advantage to the tax authority in deducting tax at source, government to budget cash flow, tax, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Right? So we go through, and really you ought to know it. You might think it's one of 2 things. You might think it's easier for the budget to, the government to budget cash flow and taxpayer. And you notice it's only allowing me to have one clicked box at a time. Right? So that's fine. Right? That's the sort of question I would hope students flick through and they find their way through as quickly as possible, and they answer. Here was the other one I meant to do. Sorry. Another drag and drop question. 2, 4, 6, 7 numbers, 2 boxes to fill. If I think that's 0, I pop 0 in and it's disappeared from the box. So I can't reuse the figure 0. Alright? Oh, don't know what happened there. That's just my mouse drag. Okay, so we've got in there. Now it's looking for 2 answers. Let me take that 100,000 out, just as a point. So I put in 0. I click next. Let's say I accidentally click next. It's not told me anything. It's not said you didn't put the other number in there. Right? But we'll see what happens. That was question 51. We'll try and remember that. Here's another one, another style. This is multiple answer. Which 2 of the following? Now, I think that formal incidence is 1, so I'll click that. I think an indirect one, indirect tax, and I'll think capital tax. Oh no, it can't be capital tax as well, because it's now telling me you've already put 2 answers in. So if you want to, you can delete one of those and replace it, but it won't allow me to put in more than it's said here. But another question, I didn't mean to click there, another question might not have that. It might just say, which of the following are appropriate classifications? And it would allow me to click all 5 if I wanted to. Right? Multiple choice with a bit of working, so we get the writing pad out, and we do whatever's expected in there, and corporate income tax, bank balance carried forward. And we make a lucky guess. Make a lucky guess. That's 30,000. 30,000. Anyway, I've clicked it. I've I've clicked it and it's trying to go on. This is internet speed rather than the previous one. Yeah. So again, if I click that, I just remembered, I saw that while it was going. I can use the previous key to go back and change. It's not 15, it's 30. Difference between 110 and 140. Then I click next and it takes time again. Oh dear. I don't think there's anything in the exam regulations about whistling while you wait for the screens to go forward, but these will be hardwired. All right. Now here's another question. Again, this is one that it's objective in that there is only one correct answer, but it's quite a tough one. The development of an international financial reporting standard generally goes through a number of stages. Place the stages in chronological order. All right, so prioritize a list, something like that. Again, at strategic level, prioritization is one of the higher level skills that we might have. I don't know why I clicked flag for review, that was an accident. So we go through and say, all right, okay, I imagine that publishing is going to be the last one. So again, that's correct. I know that's correct, but I'm getting no marks for that. Exposure draft comes before. Oh, but there's amend and exposure draft. So that, hang on. So it's a little bit of, and for students who have come through a modern education, current education, and live their lives on tablets and smartphones, something like this is a far more engaging way to be examined than writing stuff down and just ticking the A, B, C, D answer. Now, I think that looks like a correct chronological sequence. I have no idea. Oh, I should probably have flagged that for review, but too late. I'm not going to go back on these ones. All right, so again, the idea is that I could look at this and say, I'm not going to answer 55 just now. Imagine that's question number 5. I don't want to waste time doing numbers when I can do stuff that I'm reading and it's I know it or I don't know it. Da, 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 da. Yeah? Rollover relief. Business asset sold at a profit replaced by another asset. Tax arising can be deferred or rolled over until, I know that one. I remember that. Yeah? Again, here's something that might be quick to answer, perhaps not. Is there any calculations that are involved? It's picking a number out of the list here. Assets should be recorded at the following value. Carrying value, value in use, replacement or net reutilising. If you've read your IAS 36, you'll know it. If you haven't, you don't. So you know whether you can answer it or not. No calculation required. Just, if you don't know it, you've got a chance here to make a guess. If you do know it, you know it. Value in use, I think. Okay. Here's one that has got a variety. Again, it could have been set up as something as a multiple choice, because there's one of two phrases is going to fall into this box, and then I've got to work out whether it's a credit or a debit. I've no idea. What happened? Don't know. Okay. Right. Yeah, so again, that's it. It's a journal entry. And by doing this, we're not going to end up asking people to prepare a full set of financial statements. And this was something that back in February, March, when we launched the syllabus and said we were using OT, there was particularly in London, and none of you was there in London, were you? There was proper big old ding-dong between some of the lecturers, and principally Dr. Tago, who is a small in stature but large in character, and he stood his ground about this. And the simple thing is, if you can't do that double entry, that journal entry, and another journal entry that we've shown you, and another thing about financial statements, then the most likely reason is that in your learning, you have not done financial statements. So when you're teaching towards an objective test exam, you should be covering the learning outcome in the same way as you do for a paper-based exam. I mean, you do it just now. If you're doing C2, financial accounting, you do a trial balance, don't you? And you do a set of financial statements, and you know that the student's going to have questions like this that aren't write out a full set of financial statements, okay? And we're confident that when we set these questions, they're covering enough of the learning outcome to say it's a random sample from financial statements, and if a student can't do 70% of these correctly, then they've not learned properly, they've not learned enough. Okay, here is another one that is drag and drop, and it's a process of elimination, so it could have been a multiple choice. There's 4 combinations. It's an awareness of different approaches to corporate governance globally. So, the reason I started at 48 was I quickly wanted to get to 60, to the end of this. Not because I'm no good at financial accounting. That's a different reason. I have clicked next. Here's the last question. Okay, another drag and drop, and this one with repeated use, because you see there's 6 things to fill and only 2 words. So it's an either or for the 6 things, right? Is it a threat? Is it a principle? I can use them over again, over and over again. Are you answering them out there? Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to go through and check. What do you think? Are they right? You confident? Yeah? I've got that all right. And again, it's a question that if I just made one little thing in there, I'd get no mark, even though I had 5 out of 6. So this is where we are being rigorous and, you know, and yes, it may seem unfair to a student saying, but I got 5 of the 6 things right. Now put them back in that workplace. You're advising a colleague. You're going to someone who's, you go to an operations manager with this, but you're going to someone who isn't financially qualified, and you're trying to explain things to that person. That person's then going to go off and do something as a result of what you said, right? So if you've told them 3 things that are right and 1 thing that is wrong, whatever they do will be wrong. So you have to get it right. It's not acceptable in the workplace to come back and say, well, you know, I was 70% right. It's got to be spot on. So that's fair. Now another thing, each of these questions has got equal weighting. So this question gets as many marks as the big long ones with the calculations. Alright? The reason being, as I said earlier, it's not more difficult. There's learning that has to go into this, into the code of ethics, that is quite complex. And it may be as complex as doing whatever the IAS was that I missed. It may be as complex as doing the journal entries, right? And if you've done your learning comprehensively, you answer this as quickly or with as much consideration as the calculation ones. Now, my point in here is I've now got to 60. So what I could have done, start at number 1, I've gone through a few as a sample. And I could click past them if I'm not comfortable with them. I could attempt them and flag them if I just want to double check them. And when I get, you notice down here, there's nothing down here at the moment, just above my start button. Something's going to appear there in a moment. And the first time through, let's just clear out the ones that we find easiest. It'll be a completely different combination, but we might spend 20 minutes doing that, bit by bit. And after 20 minutes, you would probably have answered 20 to 25. The well-prepared student would have answered 20 to 25 questions and be confident that they've got 20 to 25 of those right. Yes? And we all know what happens when you get a question that you can do. You do it, you come away, your fear falls, your heart rate falls, you're able to relax and you're able to do better when you've got the longer tasks and the other tasks to do. So I get to 60 and I'm saying, right, next. And what's going to happen after a click and a wait, and it shouldn't be a long wait, there's no reason for this, other than the speed of the Wi-Fi. Doesn't seem to be turning any wheels. There we are. So what happens is I get this review screen, and the strap at the bottom has all changed. So I've got a summary on the screen of what's happened as I've gone through. So when we were out having the tea break, I logged on and I just clicked through the first few. Right? Let's just say, you know, in the exam, they all looked hard to me, so I didn't do them. And then I put answers in against a few. I put a couple of flags up, I can't remember why. And this is really good exercise. 44, incomplete, and flagged it. 48 was incomplete. I think that's the one we started with. I can't remember why. It's incomplete. 49, I put an answer in and I flagged it. 55 was incomplete, I can't remember what happened there. And 60, I stuck a flag on at the end. Okay, so I can review them, and I'll probably leave my flagged ones until last. Right? But what I've said in here, all these questions here, I'm confident with what I've done. I never want to see them again. I could, if I wanted to see question 22, I could click there and it would take me to 22. If I don't understand, right, question 29, I could click 29 and go specifically to that one question. It's incomplete with a flag. What's the story on 29? So I just click that. And I've gone straight, you see up here, to 29. The flag's up there, it's gone yellow. Yes, because this asked me to do 3 things. I was confident about the first 2, and I wasn't sure, intangible assets, whether it was going to be, I can't remember which one I was unsure about. All right? So what I flagged that because I said, you know this, but you just need time to do it. And I've now got time to do it. So I read it a bit more carefully. Cost of equipment is an intangible. Cost of advertising is an expense. Value of internally generated customer list or cost of a license. Which are the 2 of them? Oh, and it can't be both. You think license? That's what I think. So let's put that in. I can unflag it if I want. Or I can just go back to the review screen. If I click next, question 30 will come up. And I don't remember if there was an issue with that or not. So let's take the flag off and say we're now happy with that, and click the review screen, and I can go back to that. It'll get there. There we go. Right, now, so the next thing, right, the flag ones, I would say, unless it's, you know, like that incomplete and a flag, right, that's one that is quite unusual. I would generally leave the flagged ones till last. Now, if I click review incomplete down here, it's going to take me through in the order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 44, 48, and so on. All right? So it's going to strip out all the other ones. It won't have number 60 in the list because that's just got a flag. So if I do that, it makes it easier to navigate. And let me see if I can show you another couple of features when I do this. This was just to get through. I did know that one. I think that's the only one I've ever got right. I've passed this one because I can't remember. Is it dividing? Is it multiplying? I'll use my objective test skills to say, hang on, of the options, 3 of them are losses and 1's a profit, so it's likely to be a loss. And 2 of them are 39.98, so it's likely to be, I should have calculated 39.98. So play the law of averages there. I'm not going to work it out. But in an exam I would. Don't ever teach that to your students. Right? What's the meaning of harmonisation? Something like that. I've no idea. Okay, so this is just to illustrate. There's a couple of other things that we want to get in. I did work this out the other day and I can't remember what I worked out, so I won't bother. I think it might have been 11,500. I can't remember. I think it was actually. Let me just move on. Advisory council advisors, very probably, I hope they do. A committee report, and I don't know. Okay, I might flag that one again. Okay, but now, if I were to go back to the review screen, and just because of the time things are taking, I won't, these things will have disappeared. Questions 1 to 5 have now disappeared. Cash forecast. Again, that's probably it. Not the proceeds. I'm actually making some effort here. Yeah? I'm not going to make effort on this one. This is to show you a different type of exercise. You notice, so all the way through, this box of tables and formulae has been available to look at. Because I've not been doing my sums, I don't think there's been any that need this. But if I click that out, this is the, for financial reporting and tax, the only thing that you might need is discount present value factor tables and cumulative present value. So when you click on that, they pop out. You can move them around so that if you want to see the figures and do the calculation on your YP sheet, then you can do that. You can scroll up and down to get the number of years and across to get the percentages. So I think that's going to be as small as that's going to go. And then when you're done with it, there's a little cross and it disappears again. That's in every question. It is in the exam, it's going to be on this pale blue line here, along with the click to get the scratch pad and the click to get the calculator. They'll all be up there. Just gives a little bit more white space for the question. This one though has also got an exhibit. And the exhibit is a trial balance. Yeah? And it's quite a big exhibit. It's got a lot of information in there. So this would definitely be a question that I would click past, maybe flag it and say this is the last question you're going to do, because it's massive. Well, the information's massive. Finding the answer, you know, a balance in January, if I clicked it open again, I'm sure I could find it. What's it? Balance of a revaluation reserve. That was on past revaluation reserve, not yet. There it is, number 4, 1250. Brilliant. Alright, so that's probably right. And the other working, I have no idea. But I'll put a big number in there because it says total. Alright, so I might be able to answer it quickly again when I've got time to read the information that's there. But here's a feature that comes up in the questions. Right, that's question 7. Click question 8. And there it is. Question 8, AB's trial balance exhibit. So we've got a second question that comes from the same information. So we're not being desperately unfair on the student by saying all that work for one question. Yeah, it's the same company. These notes about corporate income tax, inventory, land value, buildings depreciated, they've now counted for 2 questions or contributed towards 2 questions. Balance for current liabilities at the end of the year is going to be, I've no idea. So I can put in a number. Now let me just show you another thing. You know when we're writing paper exams, we're doing things, lecturing and so on, we might think 1,500 should be 1,500, yes? If I do that, 1, comma, it tells me that I put in something that I shouldn't. If I hit the letters, so I do 1, 5, and then I hit O rather than 0, same warning. So it's going to guide the students towards what the program is accepting. Yeah? So let's just say that. I know it's probably not right. And then again, another question. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Another question that requires the same exhibit. Now, why I didn't mean to do that was, obviously there's a lot of information further down. And I can see there's a red cross against admin expenses. And I might look at the question and say, oh, calculate the admin expenses is what's being asked. Right? I don't know. And I might just click and say, I'm not going to do that. And I've clicked and it's sort of spoiling it. If I hadn't done this, scroll down the screen, it wouldn't let me move on to the next question. It would say, you have not read all the information available for this question, and it just would not let you move on. So, look, there is multiple choice. So that might make it an easier one to do, and we'll click that and and then we'll move on. So that was 7, 8, 9, and question 10 also comes from this. All right, here's one, I'll do this now. Right, cost of sales, I might think is 9090. Income tax expense, oh, I dropped that one. I dropped it. Okay, so I've not done the scrolling down bit. I might have gone through and worked out these two numbers. I'll click next and hopefully get the warning up. I probably won't because I've been through it already, won't I? Yeah, it's gone on to the next, sorry. It would have done that, sorry. I think we'll see, we might see whether that's complete. So I've answered 2 boxes, just go back to the review screen. Question 9 has a flag on it. Question 10, right, okay, it doesn't matter. Back to the incomplete ones. Why is this incomplete? It's got a tick against it. I thought it was multiple choice. I hadn't read correctly, and it's which 2 of the following is relevant. So I read again, and I do this. That's question 13. What was the next incomplete one? Number 44. What was number 44? Oh, this one I wanted to show as a hotspot. That's why I flagged it. Somebody's come up with an income tax computation. The accounting profit of 125,000 up at the top here has been correctly calculated. There are 2 errors of principle within the income tax comp which need to be calculated taxable profit. Click on the numerical cells. So I can click and up comes a red cross. That's not a numerical cell. That's technically not a numerical cell. So, and again, if I click on that, and I click on that, and then I think the 64,000 as well, it's only allowing me to put 2 red crosses on it. So I'd have to take one off and put it back. Alright? So again, this is a multiple answer or multiple choice style of question. It's just, again, more engaging, or to have the variety makes the whole test more engaging. Alright? Now all the time, the clock is counting down. Got 34 minutes. When I get to 5 minutes, it's going to tell me you have 5 minutes remaining. Right? And when I've got that period of time remaining, then I would just go back to the review screen and say, is there anything, what's missing? Is there anything that's incomplete? And I would rush through and I'd say, right, let's just put something in there, because you never know. Well, obviously guessing numbers isn't much, but go through the incomplete ones and look for the ones that are easier to put a feasible answer in. This one was incomplete. Remember, I showed this up, and I'd only put one of the two numbers in the box. Again, I thought I'd finished it correctly, but the program has recorded that I've not put enough answers in. So it's time to come back and do this one. And so it goes. All right, I think that will take me out to the review screen. I think that was the last incomplete one. No, it wasn't. So yeah, I've got 4 minutes left. I'm just going to click something to complete them. That should take me back to the review screen. I think I didn't make that many. All right, so it's not as inflexible as it might seem. The student can skip past. The flagged questions are still there. If I've got 3 minutes, 4 minutes left, I've ended up with 4 that I've flagged that I can answer. I can click the review flagged screen down at the bottom that will just take me through those 4. If I don't want to, remember that 60 was the threats and so on. I can take the flag off here and just say that's fine. What was 49? Why did I flag that one? Oh, I checked that, and so on. So I can, and look, I can leave them flagged. Everything's complete now, isn't it? Let me just go back into one question and make it incomplete. I know I can make this one incomplete because that was the... Right, so let's just take that away. Take away all the threats. Okay, review screen. I'll show you what this does. Now, I think I've finished the exam. Okay, so forget that that's in line. I think I've finished the exam, so I press down here, end exam. And it tells me, sorry, there's one question that is incomplete. If you click yes, you will not be able to return to this review your exam lead. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Then a second reminder comes up and it says, are you really sure? So yeah, just a friendly warning. Oh, what's incomplete? Oh, there it is, of course. Oh. Or you go back, you do the same as I've done before, and say, let's complete this one, and then the next time I click end, I'll put the threats back in, because we want to know we were right on that. And review screen, and end exam. You've chosen to end the current review. If you click yes, you will not be able to. So it's not telling me I have things outstanding. It's not saying you've got a flagged question there. So the flagging is for your own, or the student's own benefit. Double check, yes. I can see those flagged stuff, but like I've got things to do. All right, now there's no way back. The only thing I can do is press end exam, yes. All right, now, what's happening here will not happen for the students in the live exam. It will happen in the practice test. And it's the score report, as you see at the top of the screen. And the score report, what they eventually get after their week or so is waiting, is going to be something that looks like this. I'm not sure it will have all the phrase. I'm not sure what this grade is. Well, actually, that will say pass or fail. I was asked this the other day. It would say pass or fail. And there probably won't be a score up against it. Yeah? We probably won't put that in. We're still to decide on that. Now, what's going to be of value to the student, particularly the student who fails, is this. Because it says, if you need to improve, the area that you most need improvement on is financial accounting and reporting. And of course, what you guys will have taught them is within this syllabus, financial accounting, financial reporting and tax. Where are we? There we are. There's the syllabus. That is 45% of the syllabus. Syllabus topic B, financial accounting and reporting. So you've got, in the syllabus document, the main body of it, where there's the lead learning outcome, component learning outcome, etc. You've got something that maps to these four syllabus areas. It's got a weighting in it. So regulatory environment is 10% of the exam. There are 6 questions on this topic. 10% of the 60 questions are on this area. So if that had said 83% or 67%, I'd say, yeah, that's 67%, 2/3. I've got 4 out of 6 right. One more. How much time am I going to spend working on that area? Not much. If this is said 60%, 45% of the syllabus, there's a lot in there, whatever 45% of 60 is. 27. There's 27 questions in there. And so effort spent on that is going to give me more questions that I can answer and take me through the top. If I want to get my 70%, in the region of 70%, our marking system is not going to worry if that is 100%, 100%, 100%, and 12%, if that works out. Yeah? It doesn't matter. We don't need to have 70% there, 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 and there. We need to have 70% there, and the way that we structure it. So, as I said, if I get 4 out of 6 on regulatory environment, kind of all right, as long as I'm capable of getting out of my 27, if I'm capable of getting 22, 23, 24, that's where the effort's going to be rewarded. Okay, so this comes through as a helpful document. Yeah, and if a student ever approaches you having to retake a topic, that's the advice that you're going to give them. Yeah, if that said 0, yes, put some effort in on regulatory, because actually that's some of that stuff. That's just it's quite quick learning. Business tax ain't that hard. Working capital and so on isn't that hard. Okay. Are there any questions there about the objective testing? How much time do I have left? 10 minutes, okay. Let me give you a quick overview on case studies in 10 minutes. With the case study,
Sure, so there's 1 hour.
sorry?
Yeah, about an hour.
An hour left.
All right.
Not 10 minutes.
Okay.
Then it's okay.
So I'm in the wrong time zone. Okay, I'll do a quick introduction here on the case study, and then with the remaining, thankfully, we've got good time left. Yeah, the case study is going to see how we apply it. So it's not going to say calculate this journal, it's not going to say calculate this tax liability, and that sort of thing. But what it's going to do is simulate work where we apply that knowledge. Okay? I've already mentioned it being computer-based, interactive computer-based. I talked about the persona, and it becomes a role play. Yeah? You are now this persona, you're the finance officer, and you're working with these people, and so on. Now, because you're going to be put into work, you will have discovered, you'll have discovered about your company before the day of the exam. So 7 weeks before that exam window opens, we'll have published some pre-scene material that gives you the context of the organisation and the industry in which it operates. Not a huge amount at operational, more at management, more at strategic, but still not massive amount of research. It's just so that you can go and say, yes, I'm working in the airline industry, or I'm working in this industry or that industry. And then on the day of your exam, you turn up and you are in the office. You sat down at your terminal, And exam starts, as you'll see, and there's some information that comes your way. It may be a news article that says that there's been a problem with one of the suppliers, or there's news story about one of our major customers, whatever. Yeah? There may be presentation slides to say somebody went to a conference and these were the slides about a topic which affects us. It could be a number of different things. It could just be an email from someone who's been thinking about an issue at work. Now this is something that we call, again informally, we call it the trigger. There's nothing to do directly because of this, it's just news. It's something that you didn't know before coming to work. Now you know it. The next thing is, you get a task. And it'll be your boss, it'll be a colleague who says, did you see this news article about such and such, our major customer? I want to know how that impacts upon our production plan for the next 3 months, or something like that. Yeah? And it won't be, can you reforecast the production budget by doing lots of calculations? It's going to be, what aspects of the production plan should we consider? And if we review them, what should we do to review them? So that means that we need to draw on our knowledge of budgeting, and maybe draw on our knowledge of environmental analysis, or whatever it might be. And it may be something that's from the P pillar, it may be something that's from the E pillar, or the F pillar. Okay? There will be a deadline, and the students will know there's a deadline, because in the top right-hand corner of the screen, the clock will be counting down. Yeah? And the deadline will be mentioned, or it may be mentioned in the task. It says your boss is saying, I'm going to a meeting in an hour's time. I'll need 15 minutes to review what you give me, so I'm coming back in 45 minutes, or can you email me this in 45 minutes time? Yeah? I'm just reiterating a point that's made over and over. We're not asking for forecast cash flows, financial statements, anything like that to be done. It's a narrative analysis. There may be some calculations that you think are useful. Yeah? So you might want to highlight, say, well, look, this customer that we're concerned about contributes 16% of our total sales revenue. Yeah? But because it's a major customer, we give it discounts, it contributes only 12% of our total gross profit. Yeah? So you might want to do that calculation because you think it helps with the context that you're answering within. But the question will never say, calculate the proportion of revenue and say why that's relevant. So this is where the real test of the student's understanding of where the figures fit into things comes in. That's the business acumen, the business skills. Knowing what's relevant. It's also part of the communication. Yeah, the people skills. Don't give your boss a whole load of numbers that mean nothing. Give your boss numbers that underline a concern. So you'll be generally writing an email or writing a report, and of course, as a written exercise, it is subjective as to whether that is good or not so good. So it goes away like the current paper